Good Tuesday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Tuesday. I'm your host for South Carolina weather, Jesse Peterson, and we're about to go on and talk about the weather for our Tuesday evening. Going into our future, here's a look at your live radar right here. We're not gonna waste any time with this, as it is around 8:59 p.m. around 25 seconds. So. We're gonna go on and just get started right now. Good Tuesday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully everyone has had a fantastic Tuesday. I'm your host for South Carolina weather, Jesse Peterson, and let's talk about the weather for your Tuesday evening, going to your future. Looking at the radar right now as we scroll our way up, you can see that we do have some rain going on throughout pretty much most of the U.S. We do have some rain up here inside Michigan, Canada, New York, Pennsylvania. Heavy rain with some flooding concerns and some severe weather going on inside of Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky. We have this entire mess down here. We'll talk about that in just a second. We do have some rain going on in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. I already said Texas. And look at the West. You can see Iowa, you can see Nebraska, you can see Kansas. But look over here in the West. No rain is falling throughout the West right now. That is a pretty interesting sign. The West is looking very good right now. No rain in sight, no hurricane that they're going to have to worry about. And this is what all this is over here. See the dark blues down here? This is storm surge warnings. The yellows, these are tropical storm warnings. The blues are storm surge warnings, tropical storm warnings, and the yellow again. And then we do have some tropical storm watches just off of kind of like the border of South Carolina. I do expect that we will see some tropical storm warnings that will get moved in to the Midlands, and especially the upstate of South Carolina. Tropical storm watches will most likely be needed there. I'm not too sure if we will see a tropical storm watch or a tropical storm, well, pretty much tropical storm watch is going for the low country or the PD region of South Carolina. But there is another threat that I think is kind of being underdone right now that we're going to talk about at the end. So make sure that you stay in tune with that. Here is our cloud cover. Cloud cover right now seems to be showing just some heavy cloud cover up there from northern portions of South Carolina. See that heavy white cloud cover? That is pretty much just some rain, downpours, thunderstorms going through that entire region right there. Also some low clouds possible throughout Columbia, just to the north of Columbia, just to the west of Columbia as well. Places like Florence, we'll see some clouds as well. And maybe even as we move through our future cloud cover, you can actually see the clouds from the hurricane actually start to move into Florida. And we're starting to see some more cloud cover that's not even associated with the hurricane at all, but cloud cover inside the upstate of South Carolina as we move through tonight. Cloud cover that will probably be brushing up into the low country of South Carolina as we go into, and the PD region as we go into tomorrow morning. That will probably be associated with the hurricane. And this, again, just this stagnant cloud cover that you're seeing in the upstate Midlands as you go into tomorrow morning still have nothing to do with the hurricane, but we will officially start seeing cloud cover from the hurricane as we get into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. The entire state will be covered, and that will be because of Hurricane Helene out there. As you go into our current temperatures, 82 in Columbia, 77 inside of Charleston, 79 in Moncks Corner, 82 inside of Orangeburg, as well as 82 inside of Sumter, 80 inside of Bishopville, 79 inside of Florence, 77 inside of Myrtle Beach, as well as 73 inside of Rock Hill, Union, Greenville, Anderson, and maybe even 80 inside of Augusta, 79 in Edgefield, 75 inside of Greenwood as well. Here is our low temperatures for tonight: 71 inside Columbia, 71 in Orangeburg, 75 in Charleston, 70 inside of Walterboro, Moncks Corner, 71 inside Georgetown, 74 inside of Myrtle Beach, 70 inside Dillon, 71 inside Cheraw, as well as 69 in Rock Hill, 68 inside of Spartanburg, 69 inside of Greenville and Anderson, Greenwood, Newbury, Aiken, Barnwell, maybe even 75 down there towards Hilton Head Island as a low, again, a low temperature, maybe even into like 75, 76, 77 range-ish. Here's our forecast precipitation for the next 24 or so hours. Around 1.5 to 2 inches possible up there near the South Carolina-North Carolina border. So 1.5 inches of rain is possible as we move through the next 24 or so hours. Quarter of an inch to a half an inch possible in Greenville, Spartanburg. Maybe even a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch possible in Anderson. Hundreds of an inch to a tenth of an inch possible for Lawrence, Rock Hill, Cheraw, Winsboro, Newbury, Greenwood, and Barnwell as well. And as you go into severe weather, this is honestly something that probably is expected, which for some reason it's not showing on this, but I will show that in a different tab real quick. You can see here that if we go to the SPC Outlook, let me pull it up real quick. But here is day one right here. Day one is normal. Day one is loading up fine. So you can see like the northern portion of South Carolina still has a marginal risk for some severe weather. That is mainly a wind and a hail threat as we move through. And we do have some severe weather going through the state right now. You can see that we do have a severe thunderstorm warning up here for Salem, South Carolina. 9 times South Carolina, Sunset, Rocky Bottom, and Tallahassee, South Carolina, with 1.25 inch diameter hail and 60 mile per hour winds that's passing through that area right now. So severe weather is indeed happening in South Carolina as we speak. And right now, again, that hail and that wind threat was what I was talking about. Even this morning, we were talking about that. Nothing really for tomorrow. We do have a thunderstorm threat for the entire state. So the entire state has a chance of receiving thunderstorms there. Day 3, for some reason, it's not loading here. For some reason, and I'm gonna just instead going to have to move it to here. You can see as we go into day 3 here, September the 24th, going into September 26th. This is for Thursday. Thursday, we have this slight risk of severe weather that's going on for places like Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Florida, Orlando, Cape Coral, Florida, Charleston, even up there into like Orangeburg, the entire low country of South Carolina, I should say, Georgetown as well. And you might be wondering why. We do have a 5% risk pretty much, and the reason why it's not like a 5 and a 15 is because this is a tornado threat. This is a slight risk for tornado threat, and this is why I was talking about, I think that this is kind of being slept on, because when you talk about hurricanes, you're usually talking about wind and rain. You're not usually talking about tornadoes at all, and this is why I think that this is important, because we do right now have a slight risk of severe weather for tornadoes pretty much for the entire low country of South Carolina, places like Orangeburg, South Carolina, and portions up there into Georgetown, South Carolina as well. And this 5% risk that you can see that's kind of surrounding it as well, the marginal risk, that probably will be due to a tornado threat, but the main tornado threat, in my opinion, is the Southern Midlands and Low Country of South Carolina, and we'll show the models on that in a second. But tornado threat, definitely the biggest threat there. And also another thing, this will also be a nighttime threat. So, since this is a nighttime threat, it's going to be hard to see tornadoes, even if you try to go outside. I know some people, for some reason, decide that they want to go on and try and go outside and try to look for the tornado. Don't do that ever, but still, you're not going to be able to see it at all, so there's going to be no chance of even trying to go out. It will be like early morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, in between those two times. But here's our excessive rainfall outlook. No excessive rainfall outlook for tonight. Tomorrow, we do have a risk for some flash flooding, maybe even honestly, some dangerous flash flooding in places like the very far upstate of South Carolina, in like the very western portion of South Carolina. Places like Greenville, Anderson is under a yellow risk, which is a slight risk, and then we do also have a green, very sliver, places pretty much just to the east, like Gaffney, South Carolina, maybe even Spartanburg, South Carolina as well. And as you go into day 3, this is the main day for any type of flash flooding. The entire state of South Carolina is in at least a yellow slight risk of excessive rainfall. And then as you go up there into Augusta, Greenville, South Carolina, Spartanburg, and Anderson all has a moderate risk, which is at least a 40% chance of some dangerous flash flooding. And it doesn't end there as you go into Friday. Places like, again, the Greenville, Spartanburg region, Anderson, up there towards Rock Hill, has a chance of receiving some more flash flooding on Friday, and then a marginal risk that surrounds it going through towards like Rock Hill, just to the north of Columbia. I'd say places like Conway, Loris, Myrtle Beach, all has a risk for some minor flooding on Friday. And then as we get into Saturday, it's going to be nice. Nothing really else to talk about there. It's going to be almost like just a cleanup day, honestly, because I mean it's a weekend, number one, and number two, it's just gonna be way nicer. So here's the tropics right here. But before we go on and talk about that, let's go on and talk about the future for South Carolina. And when I say the future for South Carolina, I mean like the next 48 or so hours. Let's go on and push this to the 18Z. And as we go into around 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we push this forward. You can still see the shower and thunderstorm activity going on inside the upstate of South Carolina with this severe weather. That will continue. And then as you get to around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, showers, maybe some isolated showers and sprinkles, honestly, barely noticeable at all, will be going probably in like somewhere in the Midlands, most likely. And then you can start to see these showers starting to push in from, you pretty much can see them from the coastal regions, inland pretty much. These will actually be from Helene, most likely. Most likely, you can see down here all this moisture that's popping up. There goes Helene right down there. And you can see all this moisture that's being brought up and pushed into South Carolina. So honestly, not the main portion, but still some moisture being brought up from Helene in the first place, bringing us some scattered showers, downpours going into the late morning, going into the early afternoon. And then we really start to see rain. We really start to see that rain from Helene going into around 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow night in the upstate of South Carolina, as we start to see that steady rain start to increase up there. As we go into around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, maybe even into 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, showers starting to increase in the low country of South Carolina now. Same thing with the Midlands and still the upstate. And the majority of that rain will be brought going into around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, where we just start seeing a barrage of heavy rain start to push through the entire state. This is what it could look like at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time right here. The entire state pretty much covered with rain. And it will continue. It will continue through there. And let's go on and talk about just Helene in general now. We'll talk about this other risk over here as well after all that. But here's Helene over here. It's a 60-mile-per-hour storm. Right now, it is forecasted to become a major hurricane by around Thursday afternoon, and is expected to become a hurricane tomorrow afternoon. And it will make landfall somewhere in the Big Bend region of Florida, weaken pretty fast into a tropical storm at around 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and then weaken into a tropical depression going into our afternoon on Friday as well. So that's pretty much that. Here's our wind speed probabilities. Tropical storm force winds are possible throughout pretty much the western portion of South Carolina, going from low country of South Carolina all the way up into the upstate of South Carolina. All of this is possible. And here's a discussion as well. That's the wrong language. Helene is forecast to intensify and be near hurricane strength when it passes near the northeastern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula on Wednesday, where a hurricane warning is in effect. Helene is expected to rapidly intensify and grow in size. There is a danger of life-threatening storm surge along the entire west coast of Florida Peninsula. If you know anybody inside the west coast of Florida, especially the Big Bend region, you got to let them know, as I already know some mandatory evacuation orders have already been placed for some counties in Florida already. The highest inundation levels are expected along the coast of the Florida Big Bend, where up to 10 to 15 feet of storm surge is possible. So that is catastrophic, life-threatening storm surge. Says right now residents in those areas should follow advice given by local officials and evacuate if told to do so. Damaging hurricane force winds are expected along portions of the coast of the Florida Big Bend, where hurricane warnings are now in effect. Preparation to protect life and property should be completed by early Thursday, since tropical storm conditions are expected to begin within this area on Thursday. Helene will bring heavy rains to portions of the western Caribbean and potentially significant flooding and mudslides to western Cuba. Considerable flash and urban flooding is expected across portions of Florida, the southeast, southern Appalachians, and the Tennessee Valley Wednesday through Friday. This includes the risk of landslides across the southern Appalachian, as well as widespread minor to moderate river flooding is likely, and isolated major river flooding is possible. You can see all the rain that's going to be falling again. Most of the rain for South Carolina is going to be up there in that northern tip near the Appalachian Mountains. So that's pretty much all that is right there. Let's go on and look at it real quick and see what's going on there. This is what Helene looks like right now. It's, again, 60 mile per hour tropical storm right now. Still trying to intensify a little bit. And, well, not even a little bit, a lot. As it is still going right now. Most models right now, a lot of them are very confused. One model thinks that it's going to try and curve up and then try and turn back around. I don't know what's going on. But most models agree that it will make landfall somewhere in the Big Bend region of Florida, go up towards Georgia, and into places like Tennessee and Kentucky as well, as like a tropical depression-ish storm. Here's the GFS right here. GFS pretty much saying the exact same thing. Couple of stragglers has it going some other location, but the main one has it going into places like Georgia and Florida, obviously. GEPS, same thing. And the intensity models right now, most have it at around a weak category 3, and some have it as a high category 3, but not really breaking into that category 4 standard. That's pretty much all that is right there. We have 2 more things to talk about here, and then we'll talk with the audience, but I do want to talk about not only just what it looks like on radar, what it could potentially look like on radar, and then we'll talk about the future, like the next 300 or so hours for South Carolina. But here is let's just do the HWRF real quick. You can see Helene right here. And then as you push this forward, you can see that it's going to continue. It's going to move on up. It's going to become a Category 3 hurricane. And it's going to make landfall, bringing very damaging winds of up to 100, 120 miles per hour-ish. I think the max is around 120, 130, with gusts probably 140, 150, isolated 160 maybe. And this is the thing that they were watching for right here. You can start to see these outer band regions start to go into the low country of South Carolina around 5 o'clock in the morning, somewhere-ish. And then and 2 to 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday. I'm talking about Friday morning. And they will cause a tornado threat, as I was just saying. And you can see it better on, I think, on the HMON right here. If it has it, it should. It does. You see it pushes its way up. It's going to curve, cause a tornado threat inside of Florida. And then you can see just the heavy rainfall. It doesn't make it all the way into like this region, but you can definitely see the heavy rain going in with it and the possible rotation. But if I was in this area right here, definitely would be watching for a possible tornado threat. In terms of winds as well, you can also see winds right here. If you go to the 10 meter winds right here, you can see that already 120 mile per hour winds was pretty much forecasted 122 right there. And then by the time it makes it close to like the upstate of South Carolina, even though it's winds sustained 30 to 40 miles per hour, you can definitely see some higher gusts with this. And another thing that you can check as well is a website that I do use called Ventusky pretty much, and you can see wind speed, you can see wind gusts, you can see all of this stuff going on, and you can look at the max wind gust from now to Saturday pretty much, and we're just looking at Columbia for example. You can go right here. You can see Columbia has a max gust of around 60 miles per hour is possible. Again, this is on the icon. This is just one model run. Augusta up to 67 miles per hour. Sumter around 57. Florence around 53. Myrtle Beach around 57. Somerville around 60. Charleston around 70 is possible. Savannah around 70. Hilton Head Island around 70 to 80 is possible. Greenville 55. Now, I do think that is kind of wonky a little bit. You can check out this one over here as well, the GFS. Has it a bit more into reality, as higher wind gusts do go up there into the upstate. Spartanburg around 70, Greenville around 70, Greenwood around 70, Columbia around 57, Savannah around 58, Charleston around 53, Somerville around 50, Myrtle Beach around 50, Florence around 50 as well. And then the last one, the GEM, probably, again, kind of in the middle, actually, has 60 Columbia, 64 Charleston, 50 Myrtle Beach, 50, 60 inside of Augusta, things like that. So, widespread gusts, 40, 50. I think everyone in the state has a chance of receiving 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts as we move through the next, honestly, all the way from now into Friday. Especially, in my opinion, from Thursday night going into Friday. Everyone does have a shot of that. Here's the forecast models right here as well. We're just going to push this forward and see what happens. There goes Helene right there. It's going to head out. And as it leaves, the time is in the top right corner of your screen. As you push this forward, showers, thunderstorms still continuing, even as we go through around September the 29th as well, into places like the upstate of South Carolina, as another low pressure starts to form. And honestly, to be honest, that low pressure that formed would actually still be pretty much be remnants of Helene. Actually, you can kind of see how Helene continues going, and then it's going to turn around and then kind of stall out in Tennessee, Kentucky, be like a very weak low pressure and just bring rain and downpours and storms into South Carolina again going to the 29th. So it wants to turn around and give us some more shower and downpour activity. Not anything hurricane strength or anything like that. But look at this nice quiet period, October the 2nd, October the 3rd. Maybe another small little hurricane just off the coast of Florida on the eastern side, and it's going to curve out to sea most likely and pretty much not do anything. And then another hurricane, or another at least high-end tropical storm, low-end hurricane, maybe trying to make landfall somewhere on the Gulf Coast on October the 6th. So we are nowhere done with tropical season. We still have a lot more to go, as this is only peak. This is peak hurricane season right here, and you can obviously tell by all the disturbances that we're getting as well. One more thing, and then we'll go on to the audience. But right here, you can see that we do have another area that we are watching for. Over here, this X over here, just to the west of Cuba, just has a broad low pressure system associated with a tropical wave located west of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear favorable for gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression is likely to form in a few days while it moves westward to west-northwestward across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic. So right now, only a 50% chance over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance over the next 7 days. And that's pretty much all that is in terms for the tropics. So we're going to go talk with the audience. I have not seen the chat yet. I've not seen anything quite yet. But it seems like we are doing a very good job on the like button. 16 people right now watching, 15 likes right now. So yes, everyone, please do hit the like button if you have not already. And also make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you have not, because we're trying to get to 250 subscribers in 2 days, which we're at 240 right now, so we need 10 more to go. So let's read these chats. Mr. Oliver says, good evening, peaceful hot day at my house. Heard this hurricane will move quickly from the Gulf. Any chance it could shift and affect us once it makes landfall? There's always a chance. Always a chance. And even if you also got to remember the eye is not exactly where the worst conditions happen. The eye is actually where the calmest conditions happen, and then it's the outside of the eye that actually has the worst conditions of it. So the more it shifts east, I think it will have a bigger wind and rain threat, probably to like the low country PD region of South Carolina. But the more it kind of stays on track, probably give that wind and pretty much that wind concern, because it's really, or wind and rain threat, I'd honestly say, to the upstate of South Carolina instead, because the upstate can see of up to 6 to 8 inches of rain with this, while low country in the PD region may only see around 1 to 4 inches. So again, the more it shifts to the east, the more of a threat low country and PD region of South Carolina has, and the more it stays on track, or I guess the more west, or honestly I'd say the more on track, the more threat of wind and rain. But you still do have that tornado threat in the low country of South Carolina. So, but if it does shift east, you won't really have too much of a threat. I guess too much of a tornado threat. Mr. Anthony does says, "Good evening, Weatherman. Good evening to you." Cheryl says, "Hi, Joseph. Hit like button, everyone, please." Yes, like button, everyone, please. Go on and hit it if you have not already. Miss Dana says, "Hi there. Hello." And then Thad says, "Good evening, Joseph P. I hope all is well with you. All is well with me. Thank you so much for asking." And I don't see anything else. Again, you are able to ask questions if you want to. As, again, this is a free platform. You can ask any question related to weather that you would like to ask. Free little platform thing that you can ask me. Takes probably not even a couple of seconds to just type it in. Again, I want you to ask questions so we can be there and we can get questions, because if you have a question, somebody else might have the same question as well that you might also have. So make sure that you go on and do that. I did see your comment. I was also asking about also any rain expected tomorrow evening about 7. Honestly, if I was to be honest, probably it just determines on where you're talking about right now. But if I was to say going into like the 7 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, nothing seems to be for like the low country and PD region of South Carolina, really just the upstate to where you're watching maybe for that rain going to around 7 o'clock p.m. ish. But that's pretty much that. I don't see, that was the only question that I saw actually. And we're going to go on talk about San Antonio, talk about Raleigh as well. And then we will be out of here for tonight if we don't have any more questions. I hope that we do at least. And that's not supposed to be there. So as we push this forward, as we go to around 9 o'clock-ish, showers, isolated sprinkles going on probably in like the next hour or so is possible. As seems to be you have a lot of convection almost. Let me see. Oh, I see what I'm looking at. I'm looking over here, and then that's also okay. Yeah. So, right here you can just continue shower, thunderstorm activity. Maybe just to your north as well, and maybe a good line trying to move through of some convection trying to pop off. This may be a cold front right here. I'm not quite sure. I believe that is a cold front right there. It is a cold front. A cold front. That is definitely a cold front. As you go into around 5 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, a cold front will be passing you, which means that you will start to see some cooler weather going into the next couple of days, most likely. So yeah, you can see it passes you at around 6 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. Winds will probably pick up just for a little tiny bit, but probably you will definitely start to feel it start to get a lot drier and a lot cooler. As you go through there, not really much else to talk about. And no rain seems to be expected, except for maybe tonight, where some showers and downpours are potentially possible. As we talk about temperatures real quick, let's check out your temperatures. You probably see it as we pass through tomorrow evening. You will start to see the cold front start to pass. The temperatures will start to drop. So as we move through, as we get through tonight, low temperatures for tonight seems to be around 70-ish. High temperatures tomorrow at around 93-ish. Then you can see the low the cold front start to pass, and you'll see low temperatures down into the low 60s, around 63 degrees going into tomorrow night. And then high temperatures starting to get only into around the low to mid 80s going into for your Thursday. So that's pretty much all that is right over there. Let's talk about Raleigh over here. And then we'll talk about severe weather for both locations. Moving over here to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is under a flood watch right now. As we get into low temperatures for tonight, low temperatures tonight seems to be around 72-ish. High temperatures tomorrow at around 80, 81. Low temperatures tomorrow night around 70, 69-ish. High temperatures going to around 80, 81, 82 going into your Thursday. In terms of rain, let's go on and talk about that. In terms of rain, most likely you probably will see rain, but as we go through tonight, showers, scattered showers possible all around, pretty much at around 7 o'clock in the morning, and downpours are possible also as well, going into around 12, 1 o'clock p.m., maybe even going to around 6, 7 o'clock p.m. when finally all of it about leaves, and then you'll start to see some scattered showers activity going into your Thursday afternoon. So now let's talk about severe weather. Severe weather right now for both locations. I believe Raleigh does have a threat for some flooding, but as well as tonight, you do have a risk for some minor flooding. Same thing with tomorrow, not really anything. Raleigh does kind of like on the border of a slight risk and a marginal risk, so some isolated flooding possible going into Thursday, and then same thing for Friday as well, minor flooding possible for Raleigh. Nothing for Saturday either. And usually when we talk about severe weather, when we talk about that stuff, then there's usually no like excessive rainfall. There's usually no severe weather either, and it seems to be the case here. Unless something happens on day 3, because obviously I do believe that SPC outlook is kind of close there. Let me see. Yeah, no. Nothing for right now, though. So that's about going to wrap it up for tonight. We're at 246 subscribers. We got, during this entire live stream, we started at 240. We are now at 246. We got 6 subscribers tonight. That is definitely a record. I mean, thank you to everyone that has subscribed as well. Hold on, let me pull up my thing real quick so I can go on and play that real quick. Let me pull it up. Oh, 247. Thank you to whoever that was that just subscribed just as I was talking about that. Let me pull up the upload real quick. There we go. Let's go on and clap it up. Go ahead and clap it up for the future. 247. So we need 3 more. We need to get 3 more in 40, 50 hours or so. 50 hours or so. 2 days, 2 hours, 27 minutes, 55 seconds. You all see the counter down there at the bottom. If you're wondering where I was getting that at. 2 days, 2 hours, 27 minutes, 47 seconds. So that's about going to wrap that up. Hopefully everyone had a fantastic rest of your Tuesday evening. Brian M. to say I'm in. Just found the channel. Thank you so much. If you just hit the subscribe button as well, thank you so much for that. And then that says Yippee. We are getting there. We sure are. It honestly seems like that this goal could honestly be closer than we might think. But we pushed through, and we're getting there. And we will get there. We will get there in 2 days. So everyone have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for everyone for watching. And I will be back tomorrow morning with another forecast update.